Okay, good evening, my dear students. Almost now we are going to discuss about the revision part of motivation. So as I done earlier, so before discussing exam focus question, I would like to discuss with you um, the lesson what I have taught like few weeks back. So motivation basically, so I explain what is motivation and different type of motivations, and explain why motivation is important for a domain called psychology, and describe the component of motivation, as well as next we try to identify what are the causes of law motivation, and then try to describe the theories of motivation and explain the motivation model. And finally, I will explain the tips of improving motivation and describe the way of finding a person's motivation. So therefore, I'm not going to discuss all these things in a detailed manner, but before answering the question, I would like to give an idea about what is this lesson on. Okay, so simply motivation අපි සිංහලෙන් කියන අභිප්‍රේරණය කියන දේ. එතකොට කෙනෙකුට අපි කියනවා basically in order to be motivated, definitely there should be a purpose or objective. So sometimes it may be a career goal, sometimes it may be an education goal, sometimes it may be a family goal. So anyhow for motivation කෙනෙක් අභිප්‍රේරණය වෙන්නේ යම් කිසි දෙයකට නොනවත්වා උත්සාහ කරන්න යට අරමුණක් අභිලාෂයක් තියෙන්න අවශ්‍ය වෙනවා. So basically basically we are focusing on motivation because simply it's motivation is a process that initiate, guide and maintains goal oriented behavior. Always this behavior should be goal oriented. So some people are motivated, some people are continuously working without an objective or a goal. We cannot introduce it as a motivation because always motivation is directed towards a goal. එතකොට කෙනෙක් යම්කිසි චර්යාවක් අරමුණක් පතා පටන් අරගෙන දිගට මේ දේ කරගෙන යනවා නම් we can tell that person is really motivated. As an example, let's say in the working context, if an employee has already strictly determined to get a promotion from assistant manager to HR manager. So taking that goal into account, if the particular employee is continuously working, such as try to acquire required knowledge to be promoted from assistant lecturer to say HR manager, then if that energy is maintained until he become HR manager, then we can tell that the particular person is a motivated person. So basically motivation includes biological, emotional, social and cognitive forces that activate human behavior. Biological means from gene wise also we should be motivated, because we have seen some parents, they are really enthusiastic, motivated. So therefore, when we look at their children also, we can see they are also really motivated. Why? Because from genes, that unending courage comes as a trait for their lives. So therefore, at the same time, motivation is emotional, because අපි strictly හිතින් determine කරගන්නේ හරි අපි දේ කරනවා. ඒකට ඒක cognitive process එකට සම්බන්ධ වෙනවා. ඒ වගේම අපි හැමතිස්සෙම අපි හදවතින් ඒක හරි වැරද්ද දකිනවා. So emotional අපි හැඟීම් එක්කත් අපි ප්‍රේරණය කියන දේ සම්බන්ධ වෙනවා. As well as social. Because we want to, because in order to be a motivated person, my dear students, we require support from the other people. So therefore, it's a social forces should be there. Like let's say, if I want to get an A grade for a subject, definitely my parents should support for me. My school friends, teachers also should support me. So therefore, I need a very positive social environment, as well as my cognitive forces. Like cognitive mean my thinking part, emotional mean my feeling part. When we try to determine the level of motivation, a person's thinking, feeling, as well as genes and the social environment also really matter to determine the level of motivation. So when we take that point into account, we can tell that motivation is an internal process, because why it is an internal process? It's an internal decision. So even though I have told you to become motivated several times, but you strictly determine not to study. So since it is your internal decision, you can decide whether you study or not. So motivation is a condition inside us that desire a change, either in the self or the environment. So actually, it's an inner drive to achieve. It's an inner drive to goal-oriented behavior. So therefore, the essence of motivation is energized and persistent goal-directed behavior. සමහර අය පුතේ අරමුණක් ස්ථාපිත කරලා ඒ අරමුණට එනර්ජි එකකින් ලොකු ශක්තියකින් දෙයක් පටන් ගත්තට ඒක එක දිගට චිරස්ථායීව කරගෙන යන්නේ නැහැ. අපි ආව motivated person කෙනෙක්ද හඳුනන්නේ. Motivated person කෙනෙක් වෙන්න definitely we have a goal and we have an energy. We have to start, we have to initiate, as well as we have to maintain that energy until we achieve the goal. So it's that is a three important components of motivation: having a goal, initiates something, and at the same time maintain that energy until achieve your target. So therefore, persistent, intensity means how hard you try. Persistent means continuously you should maintain energy to achieve your target, as well as goal oriented. Goal is somewhat very important. So therefore, motivation is influenced by satisfying needs necessary for sustaining life for well-being and growth. So physiological needs for food like water, sex serve the organism to maintain life and provide satisfaction. Simply, we can tell that some books says that motivate because our environment and social context will play a significant role in terms of extrinsic motivation. So this is somewhat a very important sentence that you have taken into account, because we have noted, as I told you earlier, the social environment where we live also really matter for our level of motivation. Because we have seen, even though two children have gone to same school, but the level of motivation towards study is very different. Why? Because the support from their family. So if they have very supportive parents, if they have very supportive family environment inside the home, so therefore that students will try to achieve their goals without any hesitation. So therefore, please do remember, in order to become motivated, social environment also really matter. But even though social environment is existing, some people are not motivated because since it's an inner decision. So very good example, within a family, sometimes elder sister is studying very well since their parents are very supportive, but the second one is not studying well, even though the same parents are giving the same support, rendering like their elder daughter, rendering that means the same caring will be given to the second daughter, like first daughter, but second one is not performing well. So since why second one is not performing well? Because second one is not strictly determined to achieve that goal. So that's why I told you motivation and inner decision. But even though that's an impact from social environment, the particular person can decide whether I'm going to achieve the goal and whether I'm going to start the process and whether I'm going to maintain that energy until I achieve my target. Then some book says that motivation is visible. It's correct. Why? Because motivation is visible because when somebody is motivated, we can see the goal-oriented behavior. So as an example, in an office, when somebody is interested to get a promotion, he or she is continuously working, given she try to fulfill the given targets on time, try to meet the deadlines, and try to walk an extra mile, try to demonstrate organizational citizenship behavior. So likewise, always try to show colors. So therefore, since behavior is visible, then goal-oriented behavior is somewhat it's visible because facial expression, intense effort can be seen. කෙනෙක් පුච්චර මහන්සියෙන් දෙයක් කරනවද කියන එක තව කෙනෙකුට පේන නිසා අපි කියනවා motivation is visible කියලා. On the other hand, we can see like motivation is can also be inferred from the level of engagement. Like let's say for an example, in a coaching scenario or a motivational interview, a competent practitioner will enthusiastically and generously contribute to the flow of the conversation. It's an agentic engagement. So, yeah, basically motivation is visible. Why? Because you can see the level of engagement, how hard he tries. Like let's say because I can see recently I have got the service from one of a doctor in a state university, and when she was teaching to me, I have seen like a very energetic engagement coming from her side. Even though all that, shall we stop, ma'am, because I feel that you are tired right now. Now almost we have completed 3 hours, 4 hours, but she's still no near my mission. Let's continue the rest because she's heavily engaged with the process. It shows her level of motivation towards teaching. So therefore, this engagement, level of engagement also visible, and as well as she expressed her interest and enjoyment. So she told me, no, even though you feel like I'm tired, but don't worry, I'm enjoying this teaching. So her words, if I saw, I have conducted it in an online platform, but if I done it in a physical manner, then I can see her facial expression. Just now, since on because of the online platform, I heard her words only. So through that words, I felt that she is enjoying this teaching. So therefore, emotional attachment, agentic attachment is somewhat very important evidence to show that motivation is visible. Then what are the types of motivation? So basically motivation, we can tell that motivation is like how like intensity, persistence, and goal-oriented behavior. That means person is how hard he tries. Initially there should be a goal, then hardly try or try to start something and maintain that energy until they achieve the target. So when we talk about motivation, my dear student, motivation is extrinsic, I know intrinsic. So extrinsic mean like from outside the individual are often involved external, that means external rewards are given like trophies, money, social recognition. Because of that, people try to try to start behavior and try to maintain the energy to to achieve that target because they know that so many gifts are available if that goal is achieved. Like let's say in an organization, if organization is providing monetary benefits after completing the given target, then what employees do is, what they try to do is they try to achieve the given target on time to get that financial benefit. So therefore, goal-oriented behavior is to complete the target as well as hardly work on that, continuously work on that because of that extrinsic motivation called financial reward. But intrinsic motivation is not like that. Intrinsic motivation is nothing will be provided by the external party. But in order to get your self satisfaction, you try to achieve your goal. Like let's say, if you try to get the promotion for your job satisfaction, then job get like uh, then then getting you preferring to getting that job satisfaction is a intrinsic motivation for you to go for that promotion. Okay, so internal and arisen from within the individual, such as doing a complicated crossword puzzle purely for the gratification of solving problem. එනේ puzzle එකක් විසඳනවා. puzzle එක විසඳුවා කියලා කිසි කෙනෙක් විසඳීම කියන එක තමයි goal එක. ඒක විසඳුවා කියලා කිසි කෙනෙක් ඔයාලට කිසි දෙයක් දෙන්නේ නැහැ. නමුත් ඒකෙන් ඔයා ලොකු තෘප්තියක් ලබනවා. ඒ තෘප්තිය ලබා ගැනීම කියන එක intrinsic motivation එකක් විදිහට ඔයාව ඒ puzzle එක විසඳීම කියන කාරණාවට යොමු කරනවා. So recently, a third type of motivation has been noted, like it's family motivation. So an example of this is type is going to work when not motivated to do so internally. Like let's say this is like family motivation. Like an example of this type is going to work when not motivated to do so internally. No intrinsic motivation, but because it is made to support your family financial. So like family motivation mean you go for work because you are not really satisfied about the job that you are performing. But in order to get some money for your family, you do it. It's called family motivation. Below are some example of extrinsic motivation in action, like you completed a puzzle because you find it challenging. Like some intrinsic motivation example have been provided, some extrinsic motivation because simply extrinsic motivation involved with the getting rewards or avoid punishment, like competing in sports to gain trophies and recognition. So why motivation is important? So basically, why motivation is important? Because there are some advantages have been given. So understanding motivation can increase your efficiency as you work toward your goal and drive you to take action, encourage you to engage in health-oriented behavior, help you to avoid unhealthy and maladaptive behavior such as risk-taking and addiction, help you feel more in control of your life and improve your overall well-being. Well-being mean health, happiness, and healthiness. So don't believe these are the only advantages of going for motivation, but I have listed few here like 6, but you can find more. Yes. Let's move. What are the three components of motivation? So basically, as I told you, in order to become a motivation, this motivation is being a motivated person is an internal decision. Initially, you should have a goal. This is the first component. Second one is you have to start something, initiate something. Then third one is you have to maintain that energy until you achieve the target. So let's try to identify, even though three words have been provided. So activation, persistence, and intensity. So simply mean activation is the um, like intensity mean is concentration and vigor that going into pursue a goal. One student might so simply let's see what is activation is the decision to initiate a behavior. So activation means you start something, you initiate something. Persistent means you maintain that energy. I would like to write down on behalf of this intensity, but to write down like having an objective. Cut this intensity word and write down having an objective. It is a must require. So the degree of each of these component of motivation can, like let's say, so therefore activation, persistence, and having a goal. Like first one should be having a goal. Second one is activation, and third one should be persistence. So first you should have a establish a goal. Second, you have to start something, start a certain behavior. Persistent mean you have to maintain that behavior until you achieve your target. So the degree of each these component of motivation can impact whether you achieve your goal or not. So actually, the intensity of these three action will vary. Like if even though you have a big goal, or even though you have a mild goal, it determine your level of motivation. So සමහර දරුවෙක් කියනවා මම A+ එකක් ගන්න. සමහර දරුවෙක් කියනවා මම B එකක් ගන්නවා කියලා. ඒ අනුව ඔයගොල්ලෝ motivation එක මේ component තුනේ gravity එක අනුව වෙනස් වෙනවා. So some people are highly activated. They get a very strong initiation. But some people make like starting like then පාඩම් කරන්න ගන්න පැය භාගයයි. සමහර අය පැය කෙලින්ම දවසට 5ක් පාඩම් කරලා පටන් ගන්නවා. So it's a hard activation. Then persistent mean like you have to continuously, you have to work towards your goal as you plan. So it's really needed. So therefore, even though there are three components of motivation, so which actually the impact to achieve your goal will determine the gravity of it. How strong activation, how strong persistent, how strong your goal. When we talk about causes of low motivation, so why people? Because in the same family, as I told you, that elder sister is very motivated towards its studies, but the second one is low motivated. Let's see what are the causes for low motivation. All or nothing thinking. Like if you think you must be perfect when trying to reach your goal, or there is no point in trying, one minus slip up is relapse can sap your motivation to keep pushing forward. All or nothing thinking. That means if you think you must be perfect and try to reach your goal, or there is no point in trying. මේ මව් ඕන මනුස්සයෙකුට ඉතින් 100ක් පූර්ණ වෙන්න බෑනේ. ඒ හින්දා ඔකට ඒකක් ගන්න try කරන්න ඕනේ ශාලාවට පාස් වුණා මැති. Then believe in quick fixes. So if you feel that අර ඉක්මනට නිකන් අපි කියන්නේ කජු කනවා වගේ කරන්න පුළුවන් කියලා එහෙම දේවල් කරන්න බෑ මේ ලෝකේ. So if people believe that they can find quick answers, quick solution for the problem. So ඒ කියන්නේ මම පාඩම් කරන්නේ මට එක දවසින් පාඩම් කරලා කරන්න පුළුවන්. එහෙම හිතන අයට they will not motivated. And thinking that one size fit for all. But let's say that now you have successfully done your advanced level and you believe that you can do the same thing for your degree and your double AG as well. It won't be happen. You don't think that every size fit for all. Like for different scenarios, you have to do in a different manner according to this. Why? Because when you establish different targets, the social environment where you live is different. දැන් හිතන්නේ ගෙදරදී ඔයාට ඉගෙන ගන්න ගෙදර අය support කරාට ඔයා හොඳට මහන්සි වෙලා වැඩ කරාට ඔෆිස් එකට ගියාට ඔයා මහන්සි ඔයා ඉන්න එතන ඉන්න කට්ටිය වෙනවා. So therefore the social environment is totally different. So they also affect for level of your motivation. Don't believe like your parents, like the way your parents supporting to you will do the same thing in the workplace. It won't be happen. It won't be happen. So therefore you have to understand the environment where you are living, and according to that you have to decide. You have to determine your goals, and you have to determine how hard you try, and you have to determine how to maintain your energy until you achieve your target. So motivation, and when establish the relationship between motivation and mental health, sometimes a persistent lack of motivation is tied to a mental health condition, such as depression. සමහර අය ඕන්ට වඩා මොටිවේට් වෙන්න ගිහිල්ලා ඒගොල්ලෝ depression විෂාදයේ අතතිය කියන තත්ත්වයටපත් වෙනවා. Like some people I have seen in order to get an A grade, they continuously study like 12 hours, 14 hours. It won't be happen. කකුල් දෙක බේසමේ දාගෙන පාඩම් කරනවා. So like um, so therefore, like if you heavily engage with motivation, it is also not good. On the other hand, if sometimes a persistent lack of motivation, ඒ කියන්නේ සමහරවිට දැන් ඒකක් ගන්න හිනම මං හිටියා. persistent lack of motivation කියලා කියන්නේ එක දවසේ පාඩම් කරේ ඊට පස්සේ ආ විභාගෙ ගම පාඩම් කරේ නැහැ. ඊට පස්සේ විභාගෙ ලඟ වෙලා depression එනවා. Why? Because persistent lack of motivation. Even though you had a goal, even though you started first day, but activation also there, goal is there, but persistent you could not be able to maintain. So therefore, until ultimately you were depressed. So therefore, if you could not be able to persistently work on your goal, sometimes you have to you have to endure a process with mental depression, bad mental conditions. So talk to doctor if feeling apathy or how low mood symptoms last longer than 2 weeks. සත දෙකකට වගේ හැමදේම එපා වෙලා තියෙනවා නම් කිසිම දෙයක් කරන එක තේරුමක් නැහැ කියලා හිතේ මේ ලෝකෙ කිසිම දෙයක් තේරුමක් නැහැ ඉගෙන ගන්න එක බඳින එක රසාව කරන එක හිතනවා then you should understand that something is going wrong with yourself. So therefore you have to visit doctor. So when we talk about theories of motivation, actually there are so many theories of motivation have been introduced by different psychologists. Let's look at one by one. The instinct theory of motivation. Actually, instinct theory of motivation, like William James, Sigmund Freud, and William McDougall, have proposed several basic human drives that motivate behavior. So basically, they include biological instinct, essential for organism survival, such as fear, cleanliness, likewise. But anyhow, this drives and need theory, let's say what this drive and needs theory, many behaviors such as eating, drinking, sleeping are motivated by biology. අපේ උපතින්ම අපි මිනිස්සු කණ්ඩ බොණ්ඩ නිදියන්න කැමති. එතකොට ඒ නිසා ඒගොල්ලෝ මහන්සි වෙලා මොටිවේට් වෙනවා රස්සාවක් කරලා මිනිසුන් කණ්ඩ බොණ්ඩ අඳින්න සල්ලි ටිකක් හොයාගන්න. We have a biological need for food, water, and sleep. Therefore, we are motivated to eat, drink, and sleep. So therefore, we are motivated to do a job. So drive reduction theory said that motivation suggests that people have their basic biological drives and our behavior are motivated by the need to fulfill these drives. ඒකනේ මිනිස්සු කොහොම රසාවක් හොයාගන්න උත්සාහ කරන්නේ. තුන් වේල කාලා ඇඳලා ඉන්න. අවශ්‍යම. We have biological need for food, water, and shelter. So this theory of drive and need states that our behavior are motivated by the necessity to meet these needs. So therefore, we are motivated to find foods, drink, and rest. Psychological need also can also motivate people. So Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of need is another motivation theory based on a desire to fulfill basic physiological need. Because Maslow's hierarchy of need theory also there are 5 needs. So Abraham Maslow said people will be motivated to satisfy their needs. So therefore, as a manager, they should know what are the needs of their employees individually. So if you can support to satisfy their needs, automatically you can increase their level of motivation. මට ගියා. නැත්තම් මට ගියා rent එක දෙනවා නම් ආවා rent එක අරගෙන මේ rent එකක් දෙනවා නම් office එකෙන් එතකොට මම motivate වෙනවා to do my job well because I know my rent is provided by company, therefore I should do my job well. So therefore, you have to, as a manager, you have to understand your individual needs of employee. Why? Because it is really important to determine their level of motivation. Then arousal theory. So arousal theory of motivation suggests that people are motivated to engage in behaviors that help them to maintain their optimal level of arousal. කියන්නේ මිනිස්සු උපරිම තෘප්තියකට යන්න මිනිස්සු තමන්ගේ motivate behavior එකට engage වෙනවා කියලා. Like Maslow's theory of like a person with low arousal need might pursue relaxing activities such as reading a book. In contrast, those with high arousal might be motivated to engage in exciting, thrill-seeking behavior like motorcycling and racing. කියන්නේ ගොඩක් වෙලාවට තමන්ගේ අර උද්දීපනය කරලා තමන්ගේ අර උද්දීපනය එනකොට සමහර අය පොතක් කියලා රිලැක්ස් වෙනවා. සමහර අය බයිසිකල් හයියෙන් පැතලා වැටිලා thrill එක ගන්නවා. So likewise, I don't want to explain Maslow's hierarchy of need theory since you have studied it several times. Then there are motivational model. Okay, so when you look at this motivational model, My dear student, please look at the antecedents of like social environment, social context is really matter. Environment is really matter. Then it creates motive status. Like, so in order to create a motive, need is required cognition and emotion. කෙනෙක් අභිප්‍රේරණය වෙන්න එයාට අවශ්‍යතාවයක් තියෙන්න ඕනේ. එයාගේ මනසින් ඒකට සපෝට් කරන්න ඕනේ. එයාගේ සිතුවිලි වලින් ඒකට සම්බෝධ කරන්න ඕනේ. දැන් හිතන්න as an example ගෙදර අය කුඩා social environment අම්මලා කියනවා පාඩම් කරන්න. මට අධ්‍යාපනයේ මොටිව් එක ඇති වෙන්නේ මටත් ඕන වෙනවා විභාගෙන් හොඳට ලකුණු අරගෙන ඒ ටිකක් ගන්න. ඒ වගේම මගේ හිතට මගේ සිතුවිලිත් කියනවා ඔව් එහෙම කරන්න ඕනේ කියලා. ඒ වගේම මගේ ඉමෝෂන්ස් මගේ හැඟීමුත් කියනවා හැඟීම් වලනේ හරි වැරද්ද පෙන්වන්නේ. ඔයාට තියෙන ඉගෙන ගන්න. එහෙනම් ඔයා ඉගෙන ගන්න ඕනේ කියලා. So therefore, in order to decide the level of motive status a person's need, his cognition and his emotion are really important. So first look at the first condition, it's supportive social environment. So when the motive is created, then it energizes, directing and sustaining behavior, engagement, psychophysiology, brain activity and self-report. And finally, changes in life, like you perform well, you achieve something, you learn something, you adjust to the situation, you acquire skills, talent, and finally, well-being mean happiness and healthiness. So this is the final outcome of your motivation. Okay, so don't expect behavior or engagement unless you have a need, unless your thoughts is not supporting, unless your emotions are not supporting. Simultaneously, you require a very supportive social environment. Okay, I will, since I want to give you the like the essence of it, I'll explain like that. Tips for improving motivation. So when we talk about tips for improving motivation, my dear student, like all people experience fluctuation in their motivation and willpower. So basically, if you want to increase your level of motivation, you have to adjust your goal to focus on things that matter to you. ඔයා මුලින්ම prioritize කරන්න ඔයාට මොකද්ද ජීවිතේ අවශ්‍ය වෙන්නේ. මේ කාලේ අධ්‍යාපනයටද විවාහයටද පෞල් ජීවිතයටද ඒ වගේම ඔයාගේ ගෙදර කටයුතු වලටද ගමේ කටයුතු වලටද ආගමික කටයුතු වලට you have to adjust your goal to focus on things that matter to you. Second one is, if tackling something that feel too big or overwhelming, break into smaller or more manageable steps. සමහරවිට මිනිස්සු ගොඩාක් goals එකපාර එකතු කරගන්නවා. ඒක හරි දරා ගන්න අමාරුයි. ඒ කියන්නේ ගොඩාක් දේවල් එකපාර එකතු කරගන්න එක හොඳ නැහැ. අපි කරන්නේ අපිට පුළුවන් දේවල් අපි කරන්න උත්සාහ කරන එක. හරි. අපිට if we have large number of goals, we have to break them into smaller goals. Like හිතන්න මම අද බැරි තරම් වැඩ දාගත්තම මට මාව motivate වෙන්න. I know I cannot do it. So you have to set your sight on achieving only the first step instead of trying to lose 50 pounds. එකපාරම කිලෝ 3-4 හැංගි අඩු කරගන්න බෑ. මුලින්ම 1 කිලෝ අඩු කරගන්න try කරන්න ඕනේ. So improve your confidence. That means internal locus of control is really matter. I don't know whether you can remember when we are discussing personality lesson, like we discuss about internal locus of control. In order for a personal development, internal locus of control is really matter. මම විශ්වාස කරන්නේ මේ ජීවිතේ මට හැමදේටම හේතුව මම තමයි. සාර්ථකත්වයට අසාර්ථකත්වයට හේතුව මම. So therefore, if you believe yourself, then automatically what will happen? You can improve your confidence, self-confidence. And remind yourself about what you have achieved in the past and where your strength lies. Again, දැන් තමන් දැන් වර්තමානයේ විප්‍රේරණය වෙන තැන් හොඳට හිතන්න මොනවද ඔයා අනාගතේ කරේ. Sometimes you have successfully completed your advanced level or level, but right now when you're doing the degree, you are very lethargic since you are working right now. So ඔයා energy එක ගන්න ඕනේ because yes, I have capacity. I'm really potential person because I performed in my advanced level well. So therefore, I can do it well. If you feel insecure about things, try improving on those areas to feel more skilled and capable. මොකද ඒරියාකට ඔයා දුර්වලයි කියලා හිතුවොත් ඒ ගැන ඉගෙන ගන්න. ඉගෙනගෙන ඒ දේ කරන්න try කරන්න. It's really important. How to find your motivation? So when we talk about in finding motivation, always remind yourself of why you do certain things. ඇයි ඔයා ඉගෙන ගත යුත්තේ? Then you have to study this degree well because if you do it well, then you can find a good job, you can buy a car, you can build a house, you can find a good life partner. So likewise, you have to in order to find your motivation, you have to remind yourself why you do certain things. Take care of your body. Your body shape is really important for you. Make sure all of your physical needs are met. Physical needs mean නින්ද, ආහාර, මේ හැම දෙයක්ම අවශ්‍යයි. Let go of all or nothing thinking. කිසිම දෙයක් Tamanට ඕනේ නැහැ කියලා අතහරින්න එපා. ඒක මට කරන්න බෑ, ඒක මට ඕනේ නැහැ, මේ වෙලාවේ කරන්න බෑ. Don't give up anything. If any possibilities happen with you, try to achieve your target. And then after, let go of all, like find additional external factors that can motivate you. Like external factor may be your sisters, your brothers, your friends, your parents. So try to find them and try to get their support as much as you can. ඔයාව බිඳෙනකොට ධෛර්යමත් කරන හොඳ යාළුවෙක් ඉන්නවා එයාට කතා කරන්න. අනේ මට පාඩම් කරන්න හිතෙන්නේ නැහැ. Please support me in this regard. But also find interested and joy in the present moment and journey to your goal. වර්තමානයේ සතුටින් ඉන්න උත්සාහ කරන්න. It is really important. වර්තමානයේ සතුටින් ඉන්න උත්සාහ කරන්න. Utilize mindfulness and journalizing to reflect upon what you want in life. Utilize mindfulness and journalizing to reflect upon what you want in life. හැමතිස්සෙම තමන්ගේ ජීවිතේ තමන්ට ඕන දේවල් ගැන mindful වෙලා හොඳ අවබෝධයෙන් ඉන්න. මේ කාලේ මට මොනවද ඕනේ? What do you want? So therefore, so like when I talk about myself right now, I want to finish off my PhD before this 31st May. So it's my need. So therefore, I have to be motivated to work or to achieve that target. So set realistic goals. That's why I told you. සතියෙන් කිලෝ 30ක් අඩු කරනවා කියලා ඒ වගේ දේවල් යන්න එපා. Set realistic goal and keep a journal. Journal mean like always try to write down how you are going to plan your day. It's really needed. So at the end of the day, try to please tick what you have done and what you have missed. So then try to find out why you missed them. Exactly. Then do exercises. Get a good night's sleep. It's really important. So some people cannot get up next day morning because they did not get a very good night's sleep in the previous day. It should not be done. So those are some tips to find your motivation. So we have discussed tips for improving your motivation. We have discussed tips of find your motivation. If you are not motivated right now, but if you want to find out where your motivation. So I have given, like we have discussed some theories of motivation, motivational models motivational model we discussed, motivational theories we discussed. Then we discuss about components of motivation. Then after we discuss why motivation is important, what are the types of motivation, what motivation. So we have discussed all these things. So I believe now you have an idea about what is motivation. Let's try to focus on it's number 8. It's exam focus question. So altogether, look at how many questions are there. There are only 12 questions. I believe that we can answer this question. Okay. State whether you agree with this statement and justify your answer. So motivation is a process that initiate, guide, and maintain goal-oriented behavior. So simply, motivation is a process that initiate, guide, and maintain goal-oriented behavior. Yes, agree. Why? Because motivation is a process. Initially we should have a goal, and then after we have to start some actions, and at the same time we have to maintain that action until we meet our target. So motivation includes the biological, emotional, and social forces that activate human behavior. Yes. Like motivation includes biological, emotional, and social forces that activate human behavior, of course, because behavior is really important in motivation. So therefore, biologically, that means from gene-wise, you should have some traits to be motivated. That emotionally, you should be strong, and social forces should be there, as well as you can write down. If somebody tell that you disagree with this statement, it's also correct, because somebody can tell that motivation includes biological, emotional, cognitive, and social forces. Cognitive part also missing here. But if you can include cognitive, then it's good. So therefore, motivation includes biological, emotional, cognitive, and social forces. Therefore, you can tell that you cannot agree with this statement since the cognitive part has been missed. There are 2 components of motivation. Actually, disagree. Why? Because there are 3 components of motivation. First one is goal. Second one is initiate or like activation. Third one is persistent. That means you have to maintain your energy until you achieve your target. The arousal theory suggests that many behavior are motivated by biology. Are you agree with this statement, arousal theory? What arousal theory states? What arousal theory states when you refer the arousal traits? Let's look at arousal traits. Everything come from biologically. Is it true? Look at this. The arousal theory suggests that people engage in certain behavior to keep their arousal level optimal. For example, a person with high arousal need may engage in high risk behavior, such as skydiving and rock climbing. A person with low arousal need may be content with reading a book. The arousal theory of motivation states that people are motivated to engage in behavior that help them to maintain the optimal level of arousal. So therefore, you cannot agree with this statement because in that statement it said that the arousal theory suggests that many behavior are motivated by biology. No, because arousal theory suggests that people are motivated by engaging in behavior that help them to maintain the optimal level of arousal. What is meant by arousal? What is meant by arousal? Arousal meaning. Simply arousal, normally we believe that arousal is a state in which you feel excited or very alert, for example, as a result of fear, stress and anger. ඒ කියන්නේ ගොඩාක් වෙලට arousal කියලා කියන්නේ ඔයා ගොඩාක් වෙලාවට බය වෙනවා, හරියට හරි අවධානයෙන් ඉන්න උත්සාහ කරනවා. ඒ කියන්නේ කියන්නේ ඒ මොකද ඔයාට ස්ට්‍රෙස් එක නිසා, ඔයාට තරහව නිසා, ඔයා බය වීම නිසා හැමතිස්සෙම ඔයා excited වෙන්න කැමති. කියන දේ. So therefore, people are motivated to engage in behavior that help them to maintain their optimal level of arousal, optimal level of their exciting. සමහර අය ඒකනේ කැමති අර බය ඔය රෝලර් කෝස්ටර් වල යන්න ඒගොල්ලෝ හරි කැමති. මොකද ඒගොල්ලෝ ස්ට්‍රෙස් එකට ඒගොල්ලෝ හරි මොටිවේට් වෙනවා ඒ ෆියර් එකට. ඊට සමහර අය කියනවා ඕනට ඔච්චර දෙයක් ගන්න ඕනේ නැහැ පොතක් කියවලා ඉන්නකොට හොඳයි likewise. So therefore, basically, since you cannot agree with this statement, if you want to get write down, arousal is a state in which you feel excited or feel alert. So arousal is a state in which you feel excited. It is a state in which you feel excited by Vinod. When we talk about arousal, since the arousal theory suggests that many behavior are motivated by biology, you cannot agree with this statement because arousal theory suggests that many behaviors are motivated by what? Motivated by that help them to maintain the optimal level of arousal. People are motivated to maintain their optimal level of arousal. Then, according to the Maslow's hierarchy of need theory, everyone can reach self-actualization if biological needs are satisfied. No, you cannot agree with this statement. When we refer the Maslow's hierarchy of need theory, since 3 marks have been given, my dear student, 1 mark for the agreement or disagreement, 2 marks for the justification. So therefore, at least 2 points you have to write down for the justification. Like this is the way you can justify the last point. According to Maslow's hierarchy of need theory, everyone can reach self-actualization if biological needs are satisfied. Like you cannot agree with this statement because basically tell that in Maslow's hierarchy of need theory, there are 5 needs: biological, security, social, esteem, and self-actualization. So actually, if anybody want to reach self-actualization, before reaching self-actualization, a person should be able to satisfy their physiological needs, security needs, social need, as well as esteem needs. If all these 4 needs satisfied, then they can go for self-actualization. If only biological needs satisfied, they can reach only they can reach only they can go to next level called security need but cannot reach self-actualization. Is motivation visible? Yes, motivation is visible because in the lesson it nicely explained that motivation is visible because because behavior is visible as well as engagement also visible. Therefore, I don't know whether you can remember. So motivation is visible behavior. So how does motivation behave? Like with presence, intensity, quality, motivation is visible like through facial expression, intense effort, as well as engagement also visible, like how he tries, like emotional engagement and agentic engagement. That means contribute to flow of conversation, express interest and enjoyment also visible. We can see since the engagement and behavior can be seen, motivation is visible. Because even 10 marks have been provided, 5 marks for how behavior um, make motivation visible, how engagement make motivation visible, you have to explain. Next question. What is the relationship between the motivation and engagement of a person about a specific activity? Explain with an example. Like let's say if motivation is high, engagement is high. There is a relationship. There is a positive relationship. Like let's say if motivation high mean if you have a goal, if you hardly start something and if you try to maintain that energy over a long period of time, then you are, that means when you try to maintain your energy, it shows your level of engagement. දැන් ඔය අපි කියන්නේ engagement කියන එක පේන්න තියෙන්නේ පුතේ goal එක establish කරන වෙලාවේ activation එක වෙලාවේ නෙමෙයි ඔයගොල්ලන්ගේ energy එක maintain කරද්දී how ඔයා කොච්චර engage වෙනවද මේ වැඩේට කියලා පෙන්නන. කොච්චර ප්‍රමාණයක් පාඩම් කරනවද, short note හදනවද, යාළුවෙක් එක්ක discuss කරනවද, it shows your level of engagement. So this engagement can be seen at the persistent stage, how you maintain your energy to achieve your target. So therefore you can get an example, like simply you can get an example. Like let's say if you want to get a promotion, it's better to provide an example from business context. I appreciate rather than giving a general life example. Like if you want to get a promotion, my dear students, what you do is you try to um, engage with voluntary behavior, like you voluntarily engage with unofficial activities like organizing Christmas parties, New Year celebration. Likewise, then after you voluntarily engage, support other group of your organization, etc. Differentiate extrinsic motivation from intrinsic motivation. So basically, nicely I have differentiate these two. So I prefer when I ask to differentiate, better to draw a table, like one column extrinsic, one column intrinsic. You can provide a first difference in terms of definition, second difference in terms of the composition of it, the concept. Third difference, you can tell that intrinsic motivation come from inner side of the person. Extrinsic motivation come from like the external party. So likewise, look at how many marks have been given. Since 9 marks have been given, my dear student, initially tell what is motivation. Therefore, එකට එක ලකුණක් දෙනවා. ඉතුරු ලකුණු 8 ගන්න. Extrinsic වලට 4යි, intrinsic වලට 4යි වෙනස්කම් ලියන්න ඕනේ. Does family motivation associate with self-happiness? Explain with an example. Does family motivation associate with self-happiness? Actually, no. Why? Because family motivation mean you are not really, if that mean you only focus on your family satisfaction, not your happiness. Your family happiness, not your happiness. Like let's say, you don't like to do that job, but you go for that job to earn money for your family happiness. එතකොට family motivation එකක් තියෙන තැන self happiness එකක් නැහැ. තමන් සතුටු වීමක් නැහැ. මොකද ඒකට intrinsic motivation එකක් නැහැ. මගේ ගෙදර අයගේ බඩ පිරෙන නිසා ඒගොල්ලෝ සතුටින් තියන නිසා මම රස්සාවට යනවා. නැත්නම් මම අමතර උගන්වනවා, ක්ලාස් කරනවා. Because මට self happiness එකක් නැහැ because of teaching that conducting these extra classes කියලා කෙනෙක් හිතනවා නම් then you can give that example. So since 9 marks have been provided, initially you have to tell what is family motivation, what is self-happiness. Then after show the linkage between these two, how family motivation link with self-happiness, because it has a negative relationship. When family motivation is high, self-happiness is low. There is a negative relationship. And give an example, it is highly needed. Again, I will tell you the composition of this example. First, tell what is family motivation. Second, tell what is self-happiness. Then thirdly, try to show the the interconnection between these two. And then finally, give an example. For example, like I'll give 3 marks. For family motivation, 1 mark. Self-happiness, 1 mark. Another 1 mark given for the interconnection. And give a very good example. Understandable example from organization context is really needed. List 3 example of intrinsic and extrinsic motivation taken from the organizational context. So I have given many here, like intrinsic and like list. So since list mean given, no need to write, no need to explain. Just write 1, 2, 3, 4. Since nine marks have been given, tell what is motivation. 1 mark for the concept explanation. Remaining 8 marks can be taken for, that means 4 intrinsic example. For extrinsic motivation, you have to supply. I have given here. For intrinsic, I have given 5. For extrinsic, I have given 4. But you can find more and more. I don't want to read it here. As a person on this earth, motivation is required to live happily. මේ පොළවේ ඉන්න මනුස්සයෙක් විදිහට අපිට කෙනෙක්ට අභිප්‍රේරණය කියන එක අත්‍යවශ්‍ය දෙයක් සතුටින් ජීවත් වෙන්න. Do you agree with this statement? Comment. Yes. Why? Because if we don't have goal in terms of our family life, in terms of our education life, in terms of our career, children, parents, අපිට හිතෙනවා අපේ ජීවිතේ තේරුමක් නැහැ කියලා. So always try to have some kind of goals and start your energy to achieve those goals and maintain that energy is really important. ඔබට කල්පනා කරන්න. ගොඩක් කොට මිනිස්සු කියන දේ තමයි අම්මෝ මේ රස්සාව කරලා එපාලා ගෙදර නිකන් ඉන්න මං හරිය කැමතියි. මට ලක්ෂ ගාණක් තියෙන පොතේ ඒකේ නේ පොඩියෙන් මං ජීවත් වෙන්න කැමතියි කියලා. හැබැයි ඒක පටන් අරන් බලන්න මිනිස්සුන්ට හිතෙනවා එහෙම සල්ලි ගොඩක් තියලා කවුරු කිව්වොත් ඉන්න ගෙදරටලා ඉන්න නිකන් කාලා බීලා ඉන්න කියලා පළවෙනි දවසේ ඔයගොල්ලන්ට සතුටක් හිතේ දෙවෙනි දවසේ සතුට හිතේ 3 4 යද්දී එපා වෙනවා. It happens. Because when I was on my maternity leave, I can remember. So because university granted me 4 months for my maternity leave. So when I was doing nothing and only doing my baby's work at home, I felt that there is no point of me to be like this. Like just I am cooking and looking after children. So it's a very typical role. So normally even we are performing that role, even we are working. So I don't have maids at home. So therefore, so අපිට දෙන අපේ ජීවිතේ තේරුමක් නැහැ කියලා. ඉතින් අපේ ජීවිතයට ඉලක්ක අවශ්‍යයි. ඉලක්ක වලින් තමයි අපේ ජීවිතේ සන්නද්ධ වෙලා අපේ ජීවිතේ අරමුණක් අර්ථයක් ඇවිල්ලා අපි ඒකට මහන්සි වෙලා එක දිගට වැඩ කරන්නේ. ඒ නිසා මිනිස්සුන්ට සතුටින් ජීවත් වෙන්න අරමුණු කියන දේවල් අවශ්‍ය වෙනවා. ඒක අරමුණක් ඉවර වෙද්දි තව අරමුණක් පටන් ගන්නවා. That's why we are telling that motivation is an unending process. අභිප්‍රේරණය කියන්නේ මේ ජීවිතේ මිනිස්සුගේ හුස්ම නතර වෙනකම්ම සිදුවෙන ක්‍රියාවලිය. දැන් අපි එක වසරේ ඉඳන් 13 වසරේ ඉඳන් ඉගෙන ගන්න. ඊට පස්සේ 13 වසරෙන් පස්සේ අපි යුනිවර්සිටි ගියා අවුරුදු 4ක්. ඊට පස්සේ අපි විවාහ වුණාට පස්සේ දරුවෝ හැදුවා. ඒ දෙමව්පියන් බලාගත්තා. So therefore look at the goals. ඔය කිසි දෙයක් නැතුව ගියා නම් අපි what will happen? අපේ ජීවිතේ තේරුමක් නැහැ කියලා හිතෙනවා. So therefore motivation is an unending process because every day we have goals. So these goal driven our life happily. So therefore you have to agree with this statement. Discuss the 3 components of motivation with examples. Like when we discussing 3 components of motivation with example, my dear student, like first one is you should have a goal. Second one is you should have a activation. Third one you should have like persistent. So just mentioning these component will not make a sense. That means මේ තුන විතරක් ලිව්වොත් ලකුණු 3යි හම්බෙන්නේ. මේ තුන පැහැදිලි කරොත් තව අමතර ලකුණු 3ක් හම්බෙලා 6ක් ගන්න පුළුවන්. හැබැයි you have to provide an example. So again I'm telling you. So when you provide example, my dear student, provide business context example. It is highly needed. එතකොට මේ තුනෙන් ලියනකොට රස්සාව ආශ්‍රිතව ලියන්න. රස්සාවේ තියෙන objective එකක්, goal එකක්, project එක වැඩක් ආශ්‍රයෙන් ලියන්න. Like let's say if your boss has assigned a new project to you, completing within 3 months, then your objective is to complete that objective within 3 months with the support of the given team. It's your goal. So the first day, what you do is you call your team for a meeting, and then you plan how this team work towards making this project successful. Like taking 3 months period, you have a 3 months plan. So like it's like activation. So maintaining energy mean like in order to achieve this, in order to make this project, complete this project successfully, even though 3 months have been granted, you can make weekly plan, you can make monthly, daily plan, or monthly plan can be established, and working on that and encouraging and motivating your employees, your team members to work towards completing that project, then it's like persistent. So likewise, give an example which can be applicable for a business management context. Explain the reasons for the low motivation of the person. Like low motivation of the person, I have given like why people are suffering with low motivation. I think it's at the very front. Yeah, causes of low motivation like all or nothing thinking. හිතනවා කිසිම දෙයක්, if you think you must be perfect when try to reach your goal, or there is no point of trying. කිසි දෙයක් උත්සාහ කළ වැඩක් නැහැ, කවදාකවත් ඒකක් ගන්න බෑ. ඒ හින්දා පාඩම් කරන්නේ. නැත්නම් මට perfect වෙන්න හැමතිස්සෙම perfect වෙන්න හිතනවා. ඒ පහක්ම ගන්න හිතෙනවා. එතකොට part motivate වෙන්නේ. So always believe in the, don't believe in, if person believe in quick fixes, then it goes for low motivation. When you think that one size fit for all, then it goes for low motivation. Look at how many marks have been given. Like since 9 marks have been given for all 3 points, you have to write down. තියෙන තුනම ලියන්න වෙනවා. ඒ තුනම මොකක්ද කියලා කියන්නේ? All or nothing thinking, believe in quick fixes, and thinking that one size fit for all. So if you feel that, but ඒ තුන විතරක් මදි කියලා හිතනවා කෙනෙකුට ඒ තුනට වඩා මතක හිටින වෙන තුනක් හොයාගන්න ඕනේ කියලා, try to find out what are the reasons for low motivation of a person. There are so many things are coming. Okay, what is the relationship between motivation and person's mental health? කෙනෙක්ගේ විප්‍රේරණය සහ කෙනෙක්ගේ මානසික සෞඛ්‍ය අතර සම්බන්ධතාවය. So actually, if you establish a goal and if you start your work and if you are continuously work toward your goal, actually your mental health is very good. ඇයි ඔයා හරිම සතුටින් ඉන්නේ. ඔයා හිතවපු ඉලක්කයට ඔයා වැඩ කරන පටන් ගන්නවා. ඒක දිගට වැඩ කරන් යද්දි පුදුම සතුටක් මිනිස්සෙක්ට දැනෙනවා. So briefly explain with an example. So when I talk about myself today morning, when I got up, I plan my day. So I will do these things. So I prepare 2 exam question papers today. I prepare 2 assignments today. And so likewise, I thought to do this recording today. So likewise, when I am fixing goal and when I work towards achieving those goals, then I feel my day is very successful. So briefly explain with an example. So explain how this motivation, like when motivation comes with it, you cannot forget about 3 components like goal, activation, and persistence. So within that 3 concept, how you can ensure mental healthness can be nicely explained. ඉලක්කයක් ආරම්භය ඒකට වැඩ කරන්න පටන් ගන්න එක දිගට වැඩ කරන් යද්දි මිනිස්සුන්ට දැනෙන සතුට කියන දේ අපිට ලියන්න කියන්න පුළුවන් නේ පුතේ උදාහරණයකින් නේද? ඒක ඩේලි ටාගට් වලින් ලියන්න පුළුවන්, රස්සාව පැත්තෙන් ලියන්න පුළුවන්, රස්සාවේදී ටාගට් එකක් පැත්තෙන් ලියන්න පුළුවන්. තමන් හිතුවනම් අද දවසේ මම පැය විනාඩි 30ක් එක්සර්සයිස් කරනවා කියලා ඒ දේ කරා නම් ඒක මොනතරම් ආසාවක්ද සතුටක්ද කියන එක you can write down. So briefly explain with an example කිව්ව මේක ඒ විදිහට ලියන්න. ඒ වගේ ප්‍රශ්න ලකුණු 6ක් 7ක් ලැබෙනවා since I did not mention the marks here. Explain Maslow's hierarchy of need theory with organizational example. But මෙතනදී motivation එකට සම්බන්ධ කරන්න කියලා නැහැ. Just I asked to explain the Maslow's hierarchy of need theory. Then you have to explain all 5 needs with example is reader. At least for one need, better to write down two example. Assume that currently your friend's motivation is shallow. Shallow කියන්නේ හෙල්ලෙනවා. වගේ යාළුවා වර්තමානයේ motivate වෙන්නේ නැහැ. Very lethargic. So provide suggestion to improve your motivation level of your friend. 10 marks have. Provide suggestions. යෝජනා ඉදිරිපත් කරනකො මේවා පැහැදිලි කරන්න යන්නේ නැහැ. යෝජනා ලකුණු 10ක් ගන්න අඩුම ගානේ පුතේ. යෝජනා 5ක්වත් තියෙන එක වාක්‍යයකින් පැහැදිලි කරන්න. ගැඹුරින් පැහැදිලි කිරීම අවශ්‍ය වෙන්නේ නැහැ. Okay, so you can find out you can provide suggestion to improve your motivational level. So at the end of the handout, I have provided like tips for motivation. Like tips for improving motivation. Ask your friend to adjust his goal to focus on the things that matter to you. And then after then you can ask to improve her confidence. You can ask her to remind herself about what she has achieved in past nicely. Then if you can ඔයා ගිය අවුරුද්ද පන්ති පළවෙනියා වුණානේ නේද? ඔයාට දැන් මේ වෙලාවේ දැන් මේ විභාගෙට පාඩම් කරන්නනේ තියෙන්නේ කියලා මතක් කරන්න ඕනේ යාට. ඔයාට හොඳට ඔයාට හොඳ මානසිකව හොඳ ශක්තිමත් පුද්ගලයෙක්. ඔයාට හොඳ ශක්තියක් තියෙනවා. ඔයාට මොන හරි ඉන්සෙකියුර් දෙයක් තියෙනවා නම් කියන්න මම ඔයාලට උදව් කරන්න. So if you feel insecure about anything, try to improve in those areas. යාර කියනවා ඔයාලට තේරෙන පාඩමක් තියෙනවා. Please tell me, I will help you in that regard. So likewise, in order to achieve uh, 10 marks, at least 5 suggestions are needed. 5 suggestions, explanation, 5 suggestions to improve the motivation level of your friend is needed. ඊට කලින් පුතේ friend මුහුණ දෙන ප්‍රශ්නයක් තෝරගන්න. ප්‍රශ්නයක් නැතුව කෙනෙක්ගේ motivation එකක් shallow වෙන්නේ නැහැ නේද? එයා එක්ක ඉගෙන ගන්න හොරයි. එක්ක එයාට දෙන assignment එක එයා කරන්නේ නැහැ. එක්ක එයා තිස්සම අම්මගෙන් බැනුම් අහනවා ගෙදර වැඩවලට උදව් වෙන්නේ නැහැ කියලා. නැත්තම් එයා හැමතිස්සෙම ගුරුවරයාගෙන් බැනුම් අහනවා දෙන homework කරන්නේ නැහැ කියලා. So likewise, try to figure out a problem with the friend first. හැමතිස්සෙම අර හිතින් චිත්‍ර රූපයක් මවාගෙන මේවට උත්තර ලියද්දී හොඳ උදාහරණ ලියන්න පුළුවන්. නිකන් මිස් කියපු උත්තරම ලියන්න යන්න එපා. එතකොට නිකන් සමහරට අදාළ ප්‍රශ්නට අදාළ උත්තර දරුවෝ ලියන්නේත් නැහැ. So therefore always try to figure out something happening inside that. හිතින් චිත්ත වේගයක් මවාගෙන ඒකට උත්තර ලියන්න උත්සාහ කරන්න. So therefore, try to figure out a problem encountering by your friend right now in terms of education, in terms of homework at home. Likewise, then after you can help provide suggestion to improve your friend's level of motivation. Like at least providing 5 suggestions is needed to earn 10 marks. So actually, just even though write down 1, 2, 3, 4 is not sufficient. At least take in one sentence. Better to explain your suggestion. Okay.
Motivation is the experience of wanting something or wanting to avoid it. When we study how we get motivated to learn, develop.
Okay, now please watch this small video, like 5 minutes video. It's really important for you, Pute, on motivation. So try to watch this video. It's very nice video on motivation. So from this video, I'll wind up this revision and hope the questions what we have discussed on motivation is very clear. Okay, I'll thank you very much for being with me to discuss about exam focus question motivation. So please watch this video. So once this video is over, I'll wind up the session.
To avoid it. When we study how we get motivated to avoid it is the experience of. Motivation is the experience of wanting something or wanting to avoid it. When we study how we get motivated to learn, develop, and succeed, we can identify 2 contrary forces, extrinsic and.
Basically, this small video explain about intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. So therefore, I believe that you can, because there may be a question for your examination on intrinsic and extrinsic. That's why I thought to share this small video with you. I cannot exactly tell that I will give an question for example, but please focus on this aspect.
Motivation is the experience of Motivation is the experience of wanting something or wanting to avoid it. When we study how we get motivated to learn, develop, and succeed, we can identify 2 contrary forces, extrinsic and intrinsic ones. On the one hand, we want to belong, desire to be loved, and seek to get the attention we think we deserve. We are motivated extrinsically by rewards in order to progress socially. On the other hand, we strive to explore things that are satisfying in themselves, disregarding rewards. We are motivated intrinsically by a natural curiosity which we follow because it feels right. The opinions of others don't matter. To understand why we probably need a good mix of both, let's imagine two 4-year-old children. Both grow up in families that want only the best for their kids, but have completely opposing views on how to motivate them to succeed. Tom's parents believe that all their boy needs is love. To not undermine his intrinsic interests, they never praise him or use rewards. Eventually, they decide not to give him any feedback at all, fearing it could corrupt his free mind. Over the years, Tom develops an immense capacity to imagine, spending most of his time playing by himself. By being allowed to follow his passions, he learns what he likes and what he doesn't. But Tom doesn't learn what others expect and gets easily irritated when asked to do something in a particular way. Mira's parents believe that their precious little girl needs clear rules about what's good and what's not. They see it as their duty to help Mira learn by providing precise and actionable feedback on all aspects of her young life. Mira spends her days in preschool, music, and ballet lessons. Over the years, she gets exceptionally good at the things that please the adults around her. However, since there is neither time to play nor to relax, she doesn't discover her own interests. Being alone bores her. At 14, Tom is independent and begins writing science fiction. He realizes that he isn't quite like his friends and spends most of his time at the library. When he shares his writing, others can't quite relate. At the same age, Mira is at the top of her class and has plenty of friends and admirers. She knows what is expected of her and makes sure to meet those expectations. Sometimes the pressure becomes unbearable, although that's her secret. By the day he turns 21, Tom has a unique perspective of the world. He is intelligent, but doesn't like to work for money and hence is always broke. He hates the idea of conforming to conventional norms and is annoyed if someone interferes with his creative expression. At this point, Tom knows a lot about himself, but doesn't connect well with others. To him, people seem to follow rules without questioning them, just like sheep. Integrating into the society is difficult at this point, and he begins to search for utopia. Mira makes it into a top medical school where she realizes she'll never be top of the class again. Once that place seems out of reach, her motivation drops and she wonders if medicine actually interests her. Since quitting is no option, she takes up a second major and runs for student council president. Soon, Mira will know everything about what others expect, but nothing about what she likes for herself. All her life, she has just listened, driven by external feedback loops. At this point, she's almost lost the ability to question the norms of the society she grew up in. Listening to our heart can tell us who we are, but not how to be happy among others. Listening to others can motivate us to be a part of their world, but doesn't teach us if that world is ours. This is why it's probably good for the two to go together. Then we can learn what we want and get the feedback we need in order to stay motivated to explore new roads into a better society. A large body of research shows that balancing the two forces is not straightforward. One meta-analysis of 128 studies examined the effects of extrinsic rewards on intrinsic motivation. While most rewards significantly undermined our intrinsic interest, positive feedback, which is an extrinsic motivator, inspires us to keep going. Put simply, honest words of encouragement get us going, while money or gifts undermine our inner drive. What about you? Do you listen to your heart or to the voices of society? And from your personal experience, which of the two eventually takes your decision? Share your thoughts and check the description to dive deeper into the topic.
Okay. Then thank you for being with me this 1 hour period to discuss about exam focus question on motivation. So let's meet from the revision on emotions. Then after I'll be discussing past paper with you after conducting a revision on emotions. So until that point, thank you very much for being with me and have a nice day, my dear students.